What business or store that was killed by the internet do you miss the most? Arcades for sure. My dad used to drop me off at a nickel arcade with $5. I felt like a king. This is a big one for me. Arcades were how my dad and I bonded when I was really young. There was one in our mall growing up called Pocket Change, and we would always go race each other or shoot aliens together. I miss that place. I never got into arcades because by the time I was old enough to be any good at video games, around 2002 to 2004, basically every arcade game one encountered was $1 minus 2 per play, and I didn't think it was fun to blow a whole $2 on 1 or 2 tries on a video game. Especially when I had an N64 at home. It's a shame that everything costs so much nowadays, especially here in Canada with our trash dollar. I ran into the same issue. Why would I spend $1 to $2 per play when I could just save my money and spend $50 on an entire game one can play all I want? They raised costs at the same time wages were stagnating and the price of their primary competitor was dropping. Plus I don't have to deal with a good 25% of the machines being broken or having issues because the owner is too cheap to repair them. Though yesterday's over and time is a blur, how well I remember the way that we were. The summers we spent by that shining machine, the days and the nights in the lights of the screen. How well I remember the three of us then. I think of us often, again and again. I think of us always, uneager to part, the sound of the nickel, the tune at the start. But one day we didn't. I can't think of why. The summer was finished, and days passed us by, and yesterday's over and time is a blur. How well I remember the way that we were. 12-year-old me misses Toys R Us. My son will more than likely never experience the joy of being let loose in a giant toy store. The old Blockbuster in my town had a game console that somehow always had new and interesting games to show. Renting games before buying them. What a glorious time. Sure, there's demos and services, but going into a BB and being able to browse everything. Yeah, Redbox and libraries are viable options, but aging brings a little perspective. I don't really get into games as much anymore, and with my job, time is a commodity that I have to plan my investments on just as much as anything else. I miss really good hobby shops. I build plastic models, usually World War II aircraft. Those high-end hobby shops have all the closed down. Now all you can generally find are RC shops that have a shelf of a couple plastic models here and there. The only exception in the greater Portland area is Tammy's Hobbies, but I'm pretty sure their days are numbered for plastic models as well. If you ever make it to Tokyo, and still dig making plastic models, you will be in hog heaven here. There are many stores with stacks and stacks of kits. Tamiya, and all the other brands, tanks, ships, cars, you name it. I miss the Hasegawa commercial airliner kits I used to build back in the day. Amazing detail and just the variety blew me away. I had so many that my bedroom looked like an airport. The thing with Hasegawa was that not only did they do the usual airline liveries, but they also did special paint jobs when the airline would be celebrating something. The sheer variety of different aircraft types mixed in with all the airlines just gave for such a massive choice of selection. Whether it was Boeing 737-200s, 777s or 747-400 or the Airbus A300, 310 to name a few types, Hasegawa really went above and beyond. In addition to modern-day commercial airliners, their military side was just as good, whether it was World War II aircraft or the latest modern jet fighter. I was deeply fascinated by World War II aircraft and remember getting some of their kits. The Messerschmitt Me 262, Germany's first combat role jet fighter, Hasegawa didn't just make one basic kit, but they made several based on the different groups, roles the fighter was used in. So you could pick up 6 Me 262 boxes and each aircraft was slightly different depending on its role. Germany's twin-engine bombers made by the likes of Junkers and Heinkel, same situation. A variety of models across the board so you could get the very specific bomber variant you were looking for. You wanted the nighttime reconnaissance version compared to the daytime bomber variant, done. When I first started doing these kits, I was painting with brushes and buying all those miniature paint tins etc., but by the time I was deep into this hobby many years later, I had advanced to using airbrushing and my friends and I used to share tips on how to not just paint tires black, but to make them look worn out a bit. How to add paint techniques to the engine, wings and body to show wear and tear. Areas that had oil streaks or engine exhaust kickback etc. Making the model look photo-realistic was a big deal. Enjoying this hobby not only kept me with my love for aviation but helped me advance my painting skill set too. Many years after I had stopped, I was a tourist in Hong Kong wandering the streets when I came across a mom-and-pop hobby shop. I walked in and there was a huge selection of Hasegawa kits. I was blown away. Brought so many happy tears. Well, I looked for this Boeing 777 ANA livery that I had always wanted and found it. It's still in the box unmade nearly 20 years later. I hope one day I will complete it and remind myself of the joy these kits brought me in my youth. When I look around now and think about this hobby and see my nieces and nephews on their iPads whom aren't even aware that it existed, it saddens me to know that it brought so much joy to my life and they will never experience something like it. Edit, my first gold. Thank you, kind stranger. Sales pros in general. A guy selling you a fridge who has sold fridges for 10 years and knows all about them. Now I look for stars and try to discern real versus paid versus bot reviews. I really miss Radio Shack. I used to always go in there with friends and look at all the remote control helicopters and the crazy TiVo devices and everything that I thought was so awesome. It's so weird how those things were so revolutionary and now it's just like, oh yeah, you can get that at Walmart for $5. Edit, the consensus is everyone hates Best Buy. Their core market were electronic hobbyists. A new CEO made them a Best Buy clone with a quarter of the floor space and stopped carrying the previous stock on store. No more electronic resistors, boards, chips, PCBs, gadgets, testers, etc. that made them successful in the first place. What sucks now is if I want to buy like 1 or 2 small resistors or something like that, I have to buy a 50-pack on Amazon and hope they are the right thing and they work. Try Arrow.com. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I've used them for several projects and they are the best place I've found. Free shipping on everything, usually even next business arrival anywhere in the US. Even if the order total is 30. You can buy 3 resistors, nothing else, and get free overnight shipping. I don't know how it's profitable, but it is fantastic. This is basically what I have to do now. But my options to get to the closest Fry's are $60 Uber ride, not joking, 3 buses over 4 hours, $20 car to go rental if I can get the entire job done in under an hour, 2 to 3 hour bicycle ride, pizza and beer. Hey buddy, wanna drive me to Fry's? I actually do the bicycle ride option the most. It's a pretty nice ride, but all of these are more costly than ordering on Amazon. Fry's just doesn't have the density or physical market presence that Radio Shack used to have. The closest store was 15 minutes away. The next closest one was 30 minutes away. The double whammy for this is to me Arduinos and similar stuff really took off right around the time they went out of business. Used bookstores. There's now only one in a 5-city radius that is only open Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. I use thrift books now. It's cheap and they have a lot of different books, but it's not the same as browsing through stacks looking for treasures. Edit, I've been informed that for the most part used bookstores are booming. I guess the suburbs outside Detroit are just cesspools. Sounds about right. Did any of you guys have that Discovery Nature store at your malls? It would have those Native American rain tubes, that when placed on its top or bottom had the beads inside sound like it was raining. That and had a bunch of cool, seen on TV, toys and books. It was great, then one day it was just gone. Wish it was still around today, so that it would still be cool to learn. Edit, holy fucking shit, first gold and silver, thank you kind strangers. Edit, holy dooly in the pooly, what the fuck is this, platinum? I didn't even know there was one, OMG. How can I ever thank you cool dudes for this? Chain record stores, like Record Bar or Tower Records. Wolf Camera, where I spent many happy hours indulging my photo hobby in the 1990s. Borders. Most of the shops in my small country town close because everyone orders everything off of Amazon, and now there's many abandoned buildings. Flea markets. Yes, I know they still exist. The problem is that thanks to the proliferation of the internet, it's pretty difficult to find a good deal on much of anything, especially games. People check the prices on eBay and other places and just price around that. You could go to a dozen flea markets or pop-up shops and the same game will be around the same price at every single one of them. Gotta beat the flea market vendors to the product. Most peeps are just buying stuff from estate sales. Coworker who works flea markets is always talking about getting crap loads of shit for dirt cheap at estate sales. Not exactly the same experience as a flea market, but if you're just in the market for cheap shit then yeah. Estate sales and auctions. My husband buys and resells things on Amazon and eBay. That's where he gets most of his stuff. That and the clearance racks at Walmart. Also, he showed me how just about everything I buy off Amazon is actually from a dollar store. For example, I bought some cute shelf liner off Amazon for $8. Yeah, that shelf liner was $1 from Dollar General. People literally buy out dollar stores in product like that and list it on Amazon for $10, $15, or $20. You can make some decent money doing it, which is pretty surprising.